projects, including designing for Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign in the US last year. And she is based in San Francisco, and I would like to welcome her to the stage. So, Suelyn Yu. Good morning. 我的名是于苏玲，我可以放一点中文，但是我中文不是太好，所以我会要讲英文。我昨天晚上我妈妈把他告诉他帮我讲中文。他说要是我讲中文会讲4个钟头，可是今天只有1个钟头，所以我会讲英文。Hi, good morning. My name is Suelyn. I'm a product designer and product manager. I hope you're having a great morning. Thank you for coming to the talk. I know there's some great workshops downstairs that you guys are interacting with more people. And so thank you for being here. I'm going to ask you to all take 1 second and stand up. I know it's Sunday morning. Everyone's probably tired. And go stand next to someone closer to you, because even though this is a talk, there will be some interactive portions. You need to find partners to stand next to, and shake their hand and tell them your name and why you're here. Okay, you guys can sit down now. Great. So now you guys have your partners. So my name is Suelyn, and I'm here from San Francisco, California. I'm ABC, American born Chinese. My parents are from Guangzhou, Harbin, very different parts of China, and they met in the US. So I wanted to share a bit about my background before I get started. I started studying engineering at Northwestern University. It's in the middle of the country, Chicago, a flyover state. And it was a very cold and windy city, so I went straight back to California when I finished college. I worked at design agencies like IDEO, Frog, Nokia, and Travel News as well in my internships. That led me to my first full-time job at Frog Design as an interaction designer. After that, I went to a company called Opower, which helped people save energy, taught at CCA. And last year, Opower was bought by a company called Oracle, and I decided that I wanted to continue working in sustainability, and that company wasn't as focused on that anymore, and that's why I started to think about my next step. Fortunately, about 2 or 3 years ago, I was at a conference sort of like this, and I heard a guy named Scott Thomas speak, and he was a designer for the Obama campaign. And I got in my head, oh wait, so there's designers on campaigns. That's interesting. And that little spark led me to think about joining the Hillary campaign, which is what I'm going to talk to you guys about. So it's kind of full circle now. So people ask me, how do you even get onto a campaign? Like any job, right? So I started applying online. You know, you send in your portfolio, you wait, and you don't hear anything for weeks, right? Nothing at all. And so what you do next is you go on LinkedIn and you search anybody on the campaign and you try to figure out who the hell you might know who can send your stuff in. So I sent probably like 25 emails to people. The chief product officer called me back. She said, yeah, we figured out you applied. 10 people sent me your stuff. So I interviewed and then got an offer, and in 1 week I moved to New York. So thousands of people work on a campaign. People are in headquarters in New York, as well as in swing states, the states that are heavily contested. I was on a team of 80 engineers, designers, and product managers. There were 5 designers and 10 product managers. And you might be wondering, okay, that seems like a lot of people. What are you guys even doing? I mean, what does tech even do on a campaign? A lot of people had the same question as that. People actually thought in the first few months that we were the IT team. We get a lot of support requests and emails asking us to fix their computers. So it's definitely a bit of education to teach people, what is tech on a campaign. So that's what I'm going to talk to you guys about today. So first I'll talk about how we were organized around the ladder of engagement. Next I'll talk about what I built personally and 3 lessons I learned from that. And finally I'll talk about how to find meaningful work. At the end I'll leave probably 5 or 10 minutes for questions. I want to make it clear today that I'm here to talk about design and tech. I'm not going to tell you why Hillary lost. She wrote a really great book that you should read if you want to figure that out, at least her opinion. So this is about design technology on a campaign. So first, what you guys should know is the Hillary Tech team is a service organization. That means we're not creating a product, right? We're not Facebook, we're not Google, we're not making a product that we're selling to make money. Our product is Hillary Clinton, and only one metric matters. It's getting enough votes to elect her president. So in that vein, we were about trying to support every team on the campaign, which was already there to help her win the election. And campaigns are organized around a framework called the ladder of engagement. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of that before. Okay, a few of you guys have. So it's actually like a customer journey. Who's heard of that before? Yeah, okay, or a funnel. So the first step on the ladder of engagement is an observer. So each of these steps had one scrum team, which means one product manager, one designer, and a group of engineers. And they were all in charge of one metric on this ladder. The first team, the observers, was in charge of getting as many eyeballs onto content as possible. And because we want you to look at content, whether it's a blog post, a video, something else online, and then we want you to give us your information. So we want your phone number, your zip code, your email address, because then we can contact you to ask you to vote. So this team built out the content management system. This is the homepage of the Hillary campaign at www.hillary.com, and it changed every single day. We used a WordPress template, and we gave that tool set to the digital team to constantly make different pieces of content. Before I showed you some of the content, we did this popular thing called the light box. It's not my favorite UX paradigm, but you know what? It works. You put something in front of somebody, you ask them for the information, they'll usually put it in, and then you'll look at the content. We didn't just do blog posts and policy positions, we also did some creative storytelling. So this was called the College Calculator. It was a tool where you could put in how much student loans you had, how many years were on your student loans, a couple other factors, and then would show you in real time how much money you would save and the benefits it provided. So once we got your name and zip code, we could figure out where you're going to vote. And the next piece of the ladder of engagement is voter. It's not just getting you to vote on election day though, it's also asking you to first register to vote. Vote early if you can, so people in the US can vote by mail if they can't vote on election day, or on election day actually go to the polling location. The main product this team worked on was called iwillvote.com, and it's everything you need to know to vote. So you put in your information, and it'll tell you exactly how you can vote in your state. We also experimented with some friendlier ways to do this. I think 2016 was the year of the conversational UI, so everyone was trying messenger bots. This was a messenger bot, and we named her Rosa on the campaign. And you could answer a couple questions and then generate a voter registration application at the end to print out and mail in. We also built in some nice things like reminders to make sure you actually follow through with this after you've interacted with her. And then as election day got closer, this team really focused on getting people to the actual polling location. And so this is where you can put in your address and find out where to vote. Because in the US, everyone has one specific polling location they have to go to. I live in San Francisco in the Mission. And in the Mission, I have to go to a senior home just a few doors down to vote. So once we know who you are, that you're voting for Hillary, the next thing we want to do is ask you for money. So the entire campaign is run on donations. So this is a really, really important goal. This team worked with the fundraising team to raise money for the entire campaign. Like voters, there's kind of 3 steps here. First, we want to ask you, can you donate once, just a little bit, maybe $5? once you donate $5, why don't you just save your payment information so we can ask you to donate again maybe. After we ask you to donate again, we think, hey, if you donated a couple times, you might know some other people who have some money who might be able to donate. And we call those people raisers. So each team on the campaign, the scrum teams, operated pretty independently and had their own culture. This team was all about A/B testing. So this team really tried to optimize their flow. They ran probably about 100 experiments testing out, does changing the photo make a difference? Does changing the numbers that we show you make a difference? Does changing the copy make you a difference on how much you actually donate? So this is the 3-step flow they optimized. This team also ran the shop because everything that you bought for the campaign also became proceeds. And this is what we built for the raisers. So in the US, you can only donate $2,700 maximum per election, but if you want to contribute more, you can ask your friends to donate. So this is a page that we gave you a special link where you can track how much you have gotten your friends to donate. And you can raise a lot more money that way. This is a really effective way to get people to raise more money. In addition to some of these more traditional fundraising tactics, we also tried a couple of experiments. And so as you guys know, Trump loves to tweet. And so we made this thing called Tax Trump Tweets, where you can make a pledge to donate a certain amount of money every single time Trump tweets. But of course, you never know when Trump's going to go on a tirade and do 100 tweets. So you can set like a daily limit to make sure you're not going to be totally bankrupt. Okay, so the other way people contribute on a campaign is with their time. So we call these people volunteers. The campaign has most thousands of people. Well, we had even more and more volunteers who ran the whole operation. And the main way volunteers are helping is they are making calls, texting people, and knocking on doors to make sure people actually get out to vote on election day. So their ladder we focused on was first making sure you were a one-time volunteer, showing up to the field office. Then once you come once, we want to ask you to come again, so come weekly. And then finally we have the super volunteers. The weekend before election day, the volunteers are actually running the field offices, recruiting other volunteers, training them, and telling people what to do. So we built tools where people could figure out where the closest office was and how to pick shifts on where they should be volunteering. So one thing also to know about campaigns is that a lot of this in-person volunteering is happening in the swing states, but there's other states like, for example, California or New York, where there's a lot of people who are supporting Hillary, but they can't actually go to the swing state. So we made a lot of tools online where people could make calls to contact people in swing states to get them out to vote. I think one interesting design insight we've had was we tried lots of things to get people to make more calls. And the most effective thing we did was a behavioral science trick called competition. Not really that much of a trick, but we had a way for people to create teams. And then see a leaderboard of how each team did compared to other teams to see who could make the most calls. One other innovation of this team was texting. So as you guys know, people are moving away from landlines and not picking up phones as much. And so one of the big parts of this campaign was creating ways for people to mass text information to targeted voters. Okay, and then lastly, on the top of the ladder is organizers. Organizers are people who work full-time for campaigns. And most of these people are the field organizers who are working in the swing states, recruiting volunteers. So organizers have a tool that they use called NGP Van, and this has been a tool that's been around for over 10 years. It's very, very fully featured. And so this product team had to think very strategically about what's the best use of our time. We can't go and recreate this entire tool set. It probably doesn't make sense. And so what we did instead was actually build Chrome extensions on top of NGP Van because it was a pretty hard system to work with, and that allowed us to sync information from this product into our website and make it easier for people to use. Okay, so this is the ladder of engagement. And I want to pause for a second and for you to talk to your partner and talked about on the last election, where were you? So I'm going to give you like 3 minutes to do that. Think about it for a second and tell me what's next to you. Okay, 1 more minute. Okay, we're gonna wrap up a little bit. You guys ready? Okay. So when I started on the campaign of July 2016, there were teams working on each of these parts of the ladder. The campaign tech team actually been around for an entire year. However, we noticed a big difference between people who were observers and people who were further on. Lots of people were on our email lists, opening our emails, but not actually donating or volunteering at all. So our chief product officer, OC, decided to create a new team called the engagement team. And this was meant to be an experimental labs group, which means the purpose was just to try as many things as possible to see whether we could move people up the ladder. And that's the team that I was on. So this is my team with Steph, our CTO. It was just 1 product manager, 2 designers, and 3 engineers. And so really small team, and we were only working together for 4 months. So everything I'm going to show you here was what we built in 4 months. So I'm going to go through what we built with 3 lessons. So the first one is make 1 prototype a day. When I first got into the campaign, the engagement team had just finished up a project, but had no idea what they were going to build next. They had a spreadsheet of a bunch of ideas, very vague descriptions, but no idea on how to prioritize it. So we created this 2x2 framework because everyone's smarter when you have 2x2. And on the top, there's pro Hillary. So these are, we want to make products that were for pro Hillary supporters. And then on the bottom, there was never Trump. So people who weren't necessarily Hillary supporters yet, but knew they weren't going to vote for Trump. And then on one end was quick hits. So in campaign timeline, a quick hit is something that can be built and shipped in 2 or 3 weeks. Long bets maybe about 2 months. There's no quarterly planning or strategic, long-term roadmaps here. This was really fast. So I mapped our spreadsheet onto this 2x2. We tried to just hit all 4 quadrants with our experiments. So I went through a typical design process. This is my desk. Drink a lot of tea. And we brainstormed ideas, explored them, tested them, and had product reviews. Lots of ideas ended up in the rest in peace column after product reviews. About half of them went through. So I'm going to show you 2 examples of what I built with quick prototypes. So this is a concept called swing a swing state. So the original concept was, the main battleground, the main fight is happening in the swing states, and volunteers know that the most important time of focus is on these states. So we thought, okay, what can we build to really motivate people to focus on one swing state a day? I built a quick prototype in Sketch and Vision. Probably took me about 2 hours. Wrote some quick content. The idea was focus on Ohio, and here are some things you can do in a few minutes or an hour. So I threw this onto Slack, got some feedback. Some people were like, oh, okay, I like the idea of swing state, but the scrolling mechanism seems a bit cumbersome. It's a bit clunky. There's a lot of copy on here. And so took another pass at it. We had a hackathon, which was a 24-hour session where we worked with, paired up with new engineers that you had worked with before, and made this. So this is a Chrome extension where each day you get one state to focus on, and there's a beautiful background with that state, and you can click on the left to see if you have 1 minute, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, or no time at all, what you can do to help swing that swing state. Another quick concept that we had was the idea of love trumps hate. So this was a phrase that really took off among millennials, and we knew we wanted to do something to get millennials more engaged with the campaign. So what do millennials like to do? They like to show off things on Facebook. So that was one of our insights. And our idea was to quickly make something people could customize, put their face on, and added a quote to explain, okay, this is why I want to support Hillary. So I threw this onto a Slack channel. This was probably 30 minutes, maybe 3 hours of work. I used a sketch plugin that could generate a GIF really quickly. And got a lot of feedback. People were like, oh, this is all wrong. You can't use opportunity love Trump state. It has to be love Trump state. Some people said, oh, that quote's kind of long. You should just use this quote instead. That animation's not working out at all. So, that's interesting. People hated on it, actually, quite at first. People didn't like the prototype. But I actually took it as, hey, they're all actually giving me really great feedback on this, which shows they actually see some legs in this. And I was like, great, if you think the animations aren't great, can we use that motion designer over there on the video team? Can they give us some help? You don't like this quote? Well, what quote would you like to put in there? By bringing up people's ideas in, we actually ended up building this, which is a video generator that launched at the end of the third campaign. And as you can see, we got some motion designers, some brand designers, and polished the whole concept up. So you could log in through Facebook, select a photo, pick a filter with different typography, and then select a quote that represents what love Trump's hate means to you. So these were all kind of the most common issues, policy issues that we thought millennials cared about. And then it would take a few seconds to generate a video. And at the end, we always showed illuminate.com because that was the place you would go to figure out how to actually vote for an election. Remember, this is all on the ladder of engagement. We're trying to get people up the ladder of engagement, so we thought people might be more likely to share a video like this about why they want to support Hillary, to then direct people to go to illuminate.com instead of just posting a website link. And so people need a lot of these. These are some of the examples that we made. Yeah, so the takeaway here was making one prototype a day was the fastest way for me to push all these ideas forward as quickly as possible. People couldn't make decisions and prioritization off of a spreadsheet, and people were only able to react once they had something in front of them to see. The second lesson I learned was to have strong opinions loosely held. So when I joined the campaign, I wasn't very political. I didn't know that much. I actually just listened to a lot of podcasts about politics while I was on the campaign to get myself up to speed. And I was given the idea to first explore the idea of a Trump bot. It's something that people had thought might have some legs to engage people, especially millennials, because conversational UI was really popular at the time. We thought if you could text Trump, maybe you could really understand what this person was like. So at the time, we were talking about Trump in a kind of poking fun way. We were talking about him like he was a big buffoon. And that's kind of where we started at. But as I was designing, in the 5 days I was designing this product, Trump was trying to change the way he was acting. He was trying to act more presidential, and therefore the campaign was trying to change the messaging on how we talked about him. So we were trying to paint him as someone who was dangerous and divisive, no longer this buffoon. So you can literally see the changes in the branding in those 5 days as we were thinking about how to respond to him. And so In the end, we ended up with visual design that was black and white, focusing on how scary and divisive he was. We're still making him look kind of ridiculous. We're using different filters to make him really orange, but also look a little scary. And so you can sign up for this. Put in your phone number, and then you would have a Trump bot to text him with. And so we had a catalog of a bunch of Trump quotes, and you could text him, and we would do some natural language processing to search and only respond with real quotes that he had actually said. It was kind of eerily real. And then if you wanted to know at any time where this came from, you could text source, and it would show you the source of when he said this. This is something we first launched internally, so we tried everything else internally first. This was the labs group. We found that people probably had about 5 or 6 exchanges with him and then kind of stopped interacting with him. Thought, that's interesting. Well, what are we going to do about that? We would send a text afterwards called a re-engagement text that said, hey, tired of Trump, want to get text from Hillary instead? And we had a 40% conversion rate. People actually signed up after this to get text from Hillary, which would then move you up the ladder of engagement because it would ask you to do more volunteer asks or more donations. So one of the things I took away from this was that I just had to keep a really open mind, push my ideas forward with really strong opinions and say, I think this is the best experience possible, but I had to hold these opinions very loosely because I didn't have all the information on the campaign. I was coming in new. Trump was changing, our messaging was changing. There's no way that I could just push my idea forward by myself. I had to be really flexible. Okay, lesson 3 was design around moments. So as you can see, I designed a lot of things. Some of the things went live, some of the things didn't. So this is about what gets launched and what doesn't get launched on a campaign. This is a product called In Honor Of, and this is something we wanted to do to try to get people to donate more and then share why they're donating for something. And so you could donate in honor of somebody, create a little card, and then share it on Facebook and tag people that you were donating in honor of to try to get more people to donate. And this was a video that the video team made of the product.
Let's get together. Let's turn things around. Make our lives better. Let's take the hate and flip it over. Love, respect, and for one another. I can't accept we're so different. I don't believe. Everybody weeps sometimes. Feels the hopelessness of pain. Me and you, together we can. Come on, me and you, together we can.
So this product launched and it raised $100,000. 15% of those were first-time donations. And that seems pretty good. We raised a lot of money, but in comparison to other donation events, this was nothing in comparison. After debates or after the convention, we raised millions of dollars. So why did that happen? And I think, to me, it's because we didn't launch this around a specific moment. We just launched it, put it out there in the world, and then didn't get a lot of promotion from other teams within the campaign. I'm going to compare that to another product that I designed, which was for the first presidential debate. Did anybody watch the debates over here? Yeah, some of you guys did? Okay, so on the debates, Hillary Clinton called out in the first 10 minutes, the first time Trump had a lie, that she had a website that had a fact checker updating in real time facts that were against showing what Trump said when he was lying. So the rapid response team was using this during the debates live, so they could actually update this in real time and add in these quotes, and then people could react with emojis and then share the content on Twitter or on Facebook. When I used this product an hour before the debate, we had emoji counts of about like 1 to 5. 5 minutes after she said this, our emoji counts were up to the tens of thousands. At the end of the night, we ended up having 2.1 million visitors, 20,000 Facebook shares, 6,000 tweets, and raised a lot more money. So it just shows that when we design products around specific moments on the campaign, things just naturally take off. There's planned moments like debates and convention. There's also unplanned moments that you can't expect. And so as much as you can when you're on a campaign, I think it's really important to create your products with those moments in mind, because that's where people's focus will naturally be. Okay, now what? So the election night was one of the toughest nights of my life. I felt extremely crushed. I worked for 4 months on the campaign, 7 days a week, 12 hours a day without a break. I moved from San Francisco to New York, imagining that I was going to work in New York and DC afterwards, and everything changed for me and for the country. Hillary said in her concession speech, "This loss hurts, but please never stop believing that fighting for what's right is worth it. It's worth it." And I had never thought once since the campaign that what I did was not worth it. It was great. So after all that, I took 4 months off, went to my parents' house, stayed there for a little while, got fed, slept, went on the beach, and then tried to find work again that I could once again believe for and start fighting for. So that's what I'm talking about for the last 10 minutes. So how do you go about doing that, right? How do you even start looking for a company that you want to work for that has meaningful work? I think for me, I need to start by first answering 2 very personal questions before I can even start that. This is the first one. What matters most to you and why? This is Stanford Business School's famous, deceptively simple, but very revealing essay question. And the key to the question is actually the last part. It's why. For me, I care the most about combating climate change. That's why I joined the campaign. Why? For me, it's because my parents' background, they came from China after the Cultural Revolution, and they wanted to provide me more resources than they had growing up. And so I feel a responsibility to take that privilege and bestow that on people else in the world and give back. The second question comes from something one of my mentors told me. He said that design is in the choices we make for the future world we want to live in. It's pretty powerful, right? So I'm asking you guys, what kind of future world do you want to live in? And everyone has a different answer to this question, right? For some people, if you want to find a world that's more open and connected, you might find really great meaning working somewhere like Facebook. But if you're someone who wants to have a future where people are having more in-person relationships and communities, Facebook may not be a really great, meaningful place to work for you. It's very personal. There's no right or wrong answer, so you need to think deeply for yourself. What matters. I think the last talk about diabetes really showed that if you find a personal connection to your work, you can find meaning because it comes from you. So for me, my future is a world where I want to see where more people have more basic rights and resources, and it's distributed equally across the world. I think fighting climate change is the most important thing in getting us there, and so when I heard Al Gore's movie, The Convenient Truth, when I was in high school, I just really was convinced that that's the one issue that I think matters the most in the future we want to live in. Okay, so I wrote some essays and talked to some people, wrote those things down, and then I started thinking about, okay, what kind of areas can I focus on to get there? So I started making a list. These are the 3 topics I cared most about: sustainability and clean energy, civic government services, because I feel like policy has a pretty big effect on climate change as well, And then third is education, because I feel like we can't change the world unless people are educated and understand what's going on. So remember when I showed you guys a lot of engagement? Well, this can also be applied to any cause. So if you think about climate change, for example, I can be an observer. I can just read articles, I can just watch news about it, or I can start actually interacting with organizations. I can start donating, I can start volunteering my time, or I can work full-time for this cause. So I want you to think right now, take 5 minutes, think about one cause that you care about, and say, 1, where are you right now? And 2, where do you want to be? So go to your partner and take 3 minutes to do this. If you don't have a partner, maybe you can write a note for yourself on your phone or something like that, or a notebook. Okay, let's do this for 1 more minute. Okay, final thoughts. Okay, I'm gonna get started again, guys. So I hope you guys learned something from your partners. And I just want to challenge you guys all to think, what would it take for you to go full-time? What would it take for you to get to this end of the ladder? It doesn't have to be tomorrow, but just think about that. What would it look like to have your full-time job be at that? Because once you start looking, you realize that there's actually lots of these causes that need tech and design help. I didn't know about a lot of these things until I started looking. These are just mainly US-centric websites, so I'm not sure if they're going to be that helpful, but there's an entire Twitter feed and job board about design gigs for good. Code for America, which is a nonprofit in San Francisco, they just aggregate all different roles of designers that are in civic tech. EdSurge is a company that just shows edtech companies that need engineers and designers. Clean Techers, just one for clean tech companies. Once you start looking, there are resources out there that can help you find those jobs. So where did I land? I've said many times in this presentation that I care about climate change. So that was my first focus. I looked around and looked for companies in clean tech around March of this year. And I actually didn't find anything that I was super excited about. I didn't find someone that month looking for a product manager or designer in my level, in San Francisco with my constraints. So I expanded my search, and I ended up at a startup called Inform K-12 that works on education. We help public schools move off of paper processes into digital processes. So what does that mean? Am I not following my passion? Am I not finding meaningful work now? I don't think that's the case. I think it's always a spectrum. I tried to add things in my life across the entire ladder of engagement. So since I still care about climate change a lot, I decided to focus on volunteering with a group called the NRDC, which is the National Resource Defense Council. They're an organization in San Francisco, and I try to go to their events. And I'm also trying to raise money for them, the middle part of the ladder of engagement. One of the things I've been doing is I've been painting. I do a lot of oil paintings, and I took on these paintings showing how things have changed throughout through climate change. These are NASA satellite images. The one on the left is actually Shanghai. Shows what's happened to Shanghai through 40 years of urban expansion. And this is something I'm going to do. I'm hoping to sell these paintings in the next couple of months and then use that money to donate to the NRDC. So I'm kind of a raiser on a lot of engagement for my cause. Cool, so we are running out of time. I just wanted to, I can talk even more about how to find a company that's right for you, but I have a Medium article that kind of talks about that in more detail. There's more questions in there you should be asking. How to be careful about not looking for a company that's just mission washing, telling you they have a mission but not actually following through on that mission. So feel free to read that if you want to have more tips and tricks about that. Cool, thank you for your time, and I can open up for questions. I just want to remind you that I'm not going to tell you why we lost the election, so please no questions about politics like that. And I'm happy to answer anything about design technology on the campaign or how to find people work.
Thank you. And there's a question. How do you come up with those creative ideas? Do you do research? Or where's your inspiration come from?
On the campaign? Yeah, so the campaign was very much a consumer-centric design culture. I come from enterprise too, where you do a lot of user research and you talk to your users and you ask what they want, and figure out their needs, their pain points, and then you brainstorm ideas. You have to just throw that out the window when it comes to consumer stuff, right? It's all about experiments. And so what we did is we would just throw these brainstorms with people on the content team, people, engineers, kind of anybody. We would do weekly brainstorms of ideas, and then kind of prioritize them and then make quick prototypes, like I said. So a lot of the inspiration came from other people on the team, I would say, people who were closer to the policy side, people who were closer to the content side, or people who were out in the field and work with volunteers or with other supporters all the time. And then we would kind of crowdsource that and then filter them down and prototype them.
Thank you. So the last question. There must be a lot of feedback from Trump supporters as well, like to fight back. Are there any campaign focus on dealing with negative feedbacks from clients?
Sorry, say that again?
Is there any campaign focused dealing with negative feedbacks from Trump's?
Negative feedback on Trump. Yeah. So not on the tech team specifically, but on the communication side, there was a rapid response opposition team, and their entire focus was to focus on trying to figure out how to deal with the opposition and message things and quickly respond to whatever was happening on the Trump campaign. So when I had that org chart of the communication side, that was under communication on the digital team.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.